Honorable Migade Robert Indugwa, the Member of Parliament from Buvuma Islands, and Dr. Fred Mahomuza, Development-Oriented Policy Research and Analyst, to join the conversation of the State of Nation Address. Good to have you, gentlemen. Honorable Indugwa, I welcome you back from Kololo.
Thank you.
I hope the State of Nation Address made sense there.
I think so.
It did?
I think so.
Okay.
To some extent.
I want to start off with you, Honorable. Do you think the President addressed the needs and the pain points of the population?
One thing that we must clear is there's a big population that thinks that the President has a choice not to speak to the nation. The President has no choice. It is a constitutional mandate that he must speak to the
population,
nation. Yes. And if he doesn't speak, then Parliament cannot convene for example, for the third session. So it is a constitutional duty. But that aside, on whether his speech meets the people's expectations, because there are certain things that the President has been talking about year in, year out. And the ordinary person would think that maybe by now you would be seeing results. Unfortunately, we have also seen the President complaining. We have seen the President complaining. So what he talks about is real, and that's what actually the ordinary person, including me, that is what I would expect. And these are the things we have been raising on the floor of Parliament. But of course, you saw the President posing a number of questions.
Honorable, my question is, in your understanding of the President's speech, did he address the concerns of the population?
He mentioned them, but now in the next State of the Nation Address, that's when we can ask that, has he answered those issues? So I would say, me as an MP from the fishing community, I would say no.
Thank you. Doctor, good to have you again for this conversation. Looking at the entire conversation and the State of Nation Address today, the President was more into consumption expenditure. You had that. Why are we as a country always looking at the consumption expenditure? And why are we investing so much in the long-term investments as a country?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a really dilemma, because not all consumption expenditure is bad. You can see the hospitals whose water was being cut off. I'm glad to see that it's being restored after some arrangements.
Correct.
But you don't want to get to that level. But that's consumption expenditure. But it's very critical. You're looking at salaries and wages. And we are getting many government employees who are saying either their salaries are delaying, that's another consumption expenditure. So there's a lot of consumption expenditure that is necessary to keep the systems running.
Okay.
Now you have to balance that, and this is why the President is coming and I think putting himself in a very tricky situation. He's still committing to investing in a lot of hardware, the standard gauge railway. I mean, industrial salaries and wages, and we are getting many government employees who are saying when you look at them delaying. When you look at the investment, that's another consumption expenditure. So there's a lot of consumption expenditure that is necessary to keep the systems running. And you have to borrow. But you're already in a situation where you have a liquidity problem, not because URA is not collecting the money, but whatever URA is collecting is really going into debt servicing, to the extent that you are now finding a problem of paying these aspects of consumptive expenditure, but which are necessary. Because even if you say the prices have now stabilized, they have not come down. Bread will never go back to 3,500.
And the fuel will
never go back to 4,000. Now, for anybody whose salary has not moved up by that 15 to 20% backup, they are going to consume less. So you really have a macroeconomic problem, and I did not see that macroeconomic being addressed. The liquidity issue that is related to debt, he speaks to it, but debt can't just go away. You have to restructure, which is the issue he raised. But also the restructuring of government is not just to the agencies. Rationalization of agencies may save us $500 billion. But this economy needs to shed off expenditure of about 4 or 5 trillion consistently for about 5 years. if not more, if you have to settle the debt obligation and then get back on your feet. So I still wanted to hear more of those tough decisions that have to be taken. Instead, I had more industrial parks are coming along the way, a standard gauge rail is coming along the way. Medical interns, what are we going to do? The president has been emphatic on the role of science. And the last scientist you really want to be available and is a medical doctor or a medical nurse. These are very critical. The other scientists are nice, but when everything has failed, it is this health worker. Now, if we can't train the interns and we are saying, those of the rich, you can proceed. Those of the poor, maybe find another career. I've spent 25 years training to be a doctor. I'm left with 1 year. You're telling me to go and find which other career?
Very unfeasible. Coming to you, Honorable Ndugwa. The president talked about tourism as one great platform that is going to help us actually, bounce back and make quite a lot of money. And when you look at this, he says that the middle class is now actually, traveling around the country and all that. Does this make sense where we are as a country today?
One, the number of people who, and I'm happy that the president normally says these people who wrote my reports.
You heard him when he was saying something is missing?
Yeah, I'm happy normally, and I've seen him mention it many times. Yeah. Which means that he's also not comfortable with some of the reports he's given. Because, you see, Uganda Tourism Board and the Ministry of Tourism have also been on a drive to mobilize local tourists. And a lot of publicity has been done. Probably it may be one of the reasons as to why you have many Ugandans going to national parks. It may not be because their income has actually increased, but it may be out of publicity, and the power of publicity. So it may not be a good measure. Because in the same evening, the president also gave you a background of countries where, for example, he mentioned US and whatever, that if you have the biggest percentage of people in agriculture, that one in itself is a measure of poverty. And he mentioned Uganda, which is at 70%. But
we're still doing subsistence farming agriculture.
So which means that these people, many of these are actually not in the middle class, the 70%.
Correct. So
are we looking at the 30% as the people
as
who
a yardstick?
Going? So really, there is, but I'm happy that at least it is the locals, because he mentioned in his report that 63%
are local tourists.
Because where we are going, there are chances that we may stop relying on foreign tourists.
Correct.
Because of this homosexuality and whatever, men are going to cancel.
And that's why we want to come to you, Doctor. Today, the president, in his speech, he seems to be backtracking on the issue of homosexuality, where he says that he's going now to give us a fully detailed broadcast about this. His tone, his choice of words today about homosexuality, the law that was signed just in the recent past, what did you make of that?
Well, I think the president finds himself in the middle of the local politics and the global diplomatic relations, some of them economic relations. And this was bound to happen. I think some of these conversations and speeches needed to come out to clarify, because Uganda is developing out of a partnership with global players and local players. Now, for such a law, you want to get into a conversation where everybody is clear which direction you are taking. And I think that wasn't very clear. He said he's coming back to us. He's even raised some issues that he's going to take to the members of parliament, and I said he spoke to, you'll speak to them maybe before the month ends, when he will come back to us. So there is a lot more still ongoing.
Wasn't this the right position he should have taken, I think, like 2 months or 4 months before signing the bill, judging by his tone?
That's what I'm saying. Of course, there was the local political issues to address, the expectations of the citizens on him. Parliament was like, now it is in your court, you show the people where you are going. But the president, where he sits, is not like a Mhumza who will be looking at a small constituency. he has to see a lot more constituencies at his level. And I saw before he signed, there is a delegation he sent to Europe to go and explain. I don't know what conversation they had there. Also, I want to be sure there are many other conversations going on. Because it's an important issue for a discussion.
Who is fooling who, Doctor? This is my final question to you. Who is fooling who in this law, especially the homosexuality law?
Maybe there are very many things, because if the president is saying, and really it is the country itself, we don't want to really put it on the president, because a lot of these things, they come to him from the country context. Look at how we are saying irrigation is going to answer the questions, but he's saying the people in Bukedi who are growing rice right in the water are poor. So how do you guarantee me that the people in Kiegego and Kamwenge, when they get water, they will get out of poverty?
Poverty, yes.
So there are a lot of things that I think the technical officials in government haven't really crossed all the T's and dotted all their I's before you go to the president, so that the president can see a clear picture to say, okay, this is the direction I'll take as a president. So the one who is fooling who is actually our technical teams. Look at the factories. 4,000, and they are employing 150,000 people. On average, that is 37 employees per factory. Is that how we are going to resolve our unemployment problem? But everybody is saying industrial parks and power lines will solve the unemployment. Yes. The evidence on the table doesn't seem to be speaking that way. So there is more work to do. Otherwise, we are fooling ourselves, not just leaving the president aside. As a foolishness is within ourselves as a country.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This conversation will actually go on with